everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In case you're new here, my name is Laura and I'm a PhD student of Comparative Literature in Germany. And in this month's episode of Literature News, we will look back on the month of February and we will have a short outlook on the month of March. First, I will talk about a controversial policy that Amazon recently announced concerning the download of its ebooks. After that, we will look at what has been happening to a very famous original manuscript by Franz Kafka. And after that, I will examine the long list of two major literary prizes which have recently been announced. And in the end, I will give you a short overview of the events in the literature world that will happen in March. So stay tuned, and if you're ready, let's get started. One of the most controversial announcements of last month was Amazon saying they will discontinue their feature download and transfer to USB for their Kindle ebooks. Before February 26, it was possible to download the ebooks you purchased via the Amazon Kindle store directly onto your computer. This will be prevented from February 26. So by now it is no longer possible to directly download the files onto your computer. This has raised major concerns by many people around ownership, around users' rights and around accessing of books. And it is affecting many people who usually stored their Kindle ebooks on their computer as a backup solution or to organize them or whatever kinds of reasons people might have. Effectively, the new policy affects mostly users with older Kindles which are not able to access Wi-Fi, and therefore it will be not possible to transfer any newly purchased ebooks via Wi-Fi, as the download and transfer via USB is no longer possible. And it will also affect people who usually downloaded the books onto their device. And it will also affect people who have been downloading their ebooks that they purchased through Amazon and then maybe convert it into another format and read it on another kind of reader. There's ways around all of this, so you can still plug your Kindle into your computer and you will find all your purchased content on there. All the files will be there. There's been some confusion around that, but this is still possible. So nothing that you bought is lost now only because they've changed this kind of policy. This is important to note because there's been some confusion around that on the web. But it is also getting increasingly difficult to access and transfer your files. And this is what raised the most concerns for many people. Also, the fact that Amazon is tying their users more and more to their own ecosystem and trying to bind them to their own devices and their own formats, and everything is in its own special place. And if you're not willing to follow the path that Amazon tries to guide you towards, it might get uncomfortable. So I think the best thing you can do now, if you're affected by this, is thinking or rethinking the way you own and use your ebooks, and maybe consider buying your ebooks from now on from smaller independent bookshops which often have their own websites, so you can still access that and then transfer the files into a Mobi format, for example, and transfer it to your Kindle. This way you support smaller publishers and also make sure that you own the content that you've purchased. Let me know what you think about this change of policy in the comments, please. The next news I want to talk about is about a manuscript of the famous writer Franz Kafka. In this February, the Deutsches Literaturarchiv Marbach, the German Literature Archive, was able to acquire the original manuscript of Kafka's letter to his father, which is a 100-page document written in November 1919, and it provides profound insights into Kafka's very complex relationship to his father, Hermann Kafka. He has never sent the letter to his father, but It was published posthumously in 1952 and has since been regarded as a key text for understanding his life and work. The manuscript's journey is also quite interesting to see, as it was acquired by a Munich antiquarian in 1982 from private hands, and the following year sold to a publisher called Thomas Ganske, who purchased it and gave it in 1984 to the German Literature Archive on permanent loan. So they could use it, but they couldn't own it. And as the DLA recognized its significance, they secured the manuscript's permanent residence in Marbach in 2025, finally. Holding the full ownership of the original manuscript is meaningful in several ways, as the document is now officially no longer in the hands of a private person, but a public institution that is dedicated to the spread and preservation of cultural heritage and knowledge. Generally, the German Literature Archive holds the world's largest collection of Kafka autographs, after the main estate, which is located in the Bodleian Library in Oxford. And the acquisition of the manuscript is also important as it enriches the already quite rich collection of Kafka's autographs in the DLA. It includes, for example, the manuscript of the novel Der Prozess, The Trial, and also numerous letters that Kafka has been writing. The letter to his father provides invaluable context for many scholars and readers who want to understand Kafka's personality and his biography. And through the preservation in Marbach, it is ensured that this quite essential piece of literary history remains accessible for future research and public engagement. And currently the letter is actually on display in the DLA's museum as part of the exhibition Kafka's Echo, which has been extended until June 22 in 2025 due to high public interest. So if you're interested in seeing this manuscript and other manuscripts on display, it might be worth a visit to go to Marbach. Next up, we want to look at the long list of 2 literary prizes. First, the International Booker Prize, and secondly, the Women's Prize for Nonfiction, both of which released their long lists in February. The International Booker Prize longlist features 13 first-time nominees and highlights a diverse range of voices and stories from around the world. 12 out of 13 titles are published by independent presses, and this could be seen as an underscoring of the significant role that indie publishers bring into global literature and especially to English-speaking audiences. So among the long-listed authors are some that sound quite interesting. One of them is Mircea Cărtărescu, the first Romanian writer to be recognized by the prize, for his novel Solenoid, translated by Sean Cotter. It is set in communist Bucharest in late 1970s and early 1980s and evolves into a surrealist account of the narrator's journey through alternate realities. Then there's also Banu Mushtaq's Heart Lamp, translated by Deepa Bhashti from Kannada, from the language Kannada, which marks the first time a work from this language has been longlisted. Kannada is a language from the Indian state of Karnataka, where Kannada is predominantly spoken. In 12 stories, Banu Mushtaq captures the everyday lives of women and girls in Muslim communities in southern India. Mushtaq has been working as a journalist and lawyer and champion for women's rights and against caste and religious oppression. That has an influence on her work. Japanese author Hiromi Kawakami, who is best known for her novel Strange Weather in Tokyo, is nominated for her work Under the Eye of the Big Bird, translated by Asa Yoneda. The novel presents a future where humanity faces extinction, with its narrative voice praised for its clarity and depth. Then there's also the Swiss author Christian Kracht's novel Eurotrash, or Eurotrash, translated by Daniel Bowles, which follows a middle-aged writer and his terminally ill mother on a darkly comical road trip through Switzerland, which also sounds quite interesting. The Longlist also includes the Book of Disappearance by Palestinian author Ibtisam Azem, translated by Sinan Anton, marking the first nomination of an Iraqi translator. The novel explores the sudden vanishing of Palestinians and explores how a friend of one of the vanished begins searching for clues. This is also a very interesting hook, I think. Additionally, Astrid Römer's On a Woman's Madness, first published in Dutch 43 years ago and now translated by Lucy Scott, sets a record for the longest gap between original publication and longlisting. The other novels on the list are On the Calculation of Volume 1 by Solveig Ball, translated by Barbara G. Haviland. There is a Monster Behind the Door by Gaël Bellem, translated by Karen Fleetwood and Letitia Saint-Loubert. Reservoir Bitches by Dalia de la Cerda, translated by Julia Sanchez and Heather Clary. Small Boat by Vincent Delacroix, translated by Helen Stevenson. Hunchback by Sao Ichikawa, translated by Polly Barton. A Leopard Skin Hat by Anne Sayre, translated by Mark Hutchinson. And Perfection by Vincenzo Latronico, translated by Sophie Hughes. The reason that I'm mentioning not only the authors but also their translators is that the International Booker Prize is praising both the author and the translator, and the money is usually divided between author and translator when they win the prize, or also between several translators if there are several ones. And that's also quite a new approach to literary prizes, as the work of the translator is highlighted in this way. The shortlist of 6 books will be announced on April 8, so pretty soon, with the winner, and the winner will be revealed at a ceremony in London on May 20. The other long list I want to talk about is for the Women's Prize for Nonfiction. It has been announced. It was launched in 2023 after research revealed that only 35.5% of books awarded a non-fiction prize over the prior decade were written by women. The nominees are chosen by a jury completely made up of women as well. So the 2025 Women's Prize for Non-Fiction Longlist features 16 authors, 11 of whom are British, because they are only nominating books that have been published in the UK in some way or another. The longlist includes works from a diverse range of disciplines such as geopolitics, art, music, natural history, true crime, law, science, medicine and history. And I have picked 3 notable nominees that I found sounded most interesting. The first one being the work by a British-Chinese politician and journalist Yuan Yang for Private Revolutions, Coming of Age in a New China, which tells the story of 4 Chinese women striving for a better future in an unequal society as a portrait of a rapidly changing nation. Secondly, Embers of the Hands, Hidden Histories of the Viking Age by Eleanor Barraclough, about not just the warriors of the Vikings, but the history of all the other people. Children, enslaved people, seers, artisans, travelers, writers who inhabited the medieval Nordic world. And thirdly, the work of the American historian Anne Applebaum for her work Autocracy, Inc., The Dictators Who Want to Run the World, which is about the shared understanding autocrats have of the world, where it comes from, why it lasts, how it works, how the democratic world has unwittingly helped to consolidate it, and how we can help bring it down. I want to mention the other nominees as well, so that you see the wide range of topics that this Women's Prize for Nonfiction covers. The Eagle and the Heart, The Tragedy of Richard II and Henry IV by Helen Castor. 1,000 Threads by Nini Cherry. The Story of a Heart by Rachel Clark. Raising Hair by Chloe Dalton. Ootlin by Jenny Fagan. Why Fish Don't Exist, A Story of Loss, Love and the Hidden Order of Life by Lulu Miller. Agent Zoe, the untold story of fearless World War II resistance fighter Elżbieta Zawaka by Claire Malley. By the Fire We Carry, the generations-long fight for justice on native land by Rebecca Nagel. Wild Thing, A Life of Paul Gauguin by Sue Prideaux. What the Wild Sea Can Be, The Future of the World's Ocean by Helen Scales. The Peep Show, The Murders at 10 Rillington Place by Kate Summerscale. Sister-in-Law, Fighting for Justice in a System Designed by Men by Harriet Wistrich, and Tracker by Alexis Wright. Shortlist for the Women's Prize for Nonfiction will be announced on March 26, with the winner revealed on June 12, coinciding with the Women's Prize for Fiction award ceremony. And the Women's Prize for Fiction Longlist will be announced on March 4, so very soon. And this way we come into our last section of the video, in which I want to talk about what will be going on in March. If you want to attend some events in March, there's quite a few going on. In Europe, there's book fairs in Poznan, London, Brussels, Venice, Geneva, Edinburgh and Leipzig in Germany, just to mention a few. In the US, there are literary festivals in Tucson, in Charlottesville, Virginia, in Pennsylvania, in Florida and in New Orleans, also just to name a few. In Australia, there's the Adelaide Writers' Week and the Perth Writer Festival. And in Asia, there's the Hong Kong International Literary Festival and the Shanghai International Literary Festival, just to mention a few as well. These are the ones that I found online. If there's more, please let me know. And I hope this way you're set for an interesting month, and I will update you with the news from March by the end of March. Stay tuned and thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye bye.